don't ever get above your true 70% max of your realistic ability level. Okay, so the Navy SEAL rule is the 60-40 rule. And it's basically no one operates above, or most people don't operate above 60%. There's 40% up there that we're scared to tap into. Sometimes it's psychological, sometimes it's maybe stability related. We can't get our body to function at that level because of injuries, so on and so forth. So if you know where you're at, heart rate wise or power wise, if you know where you're at and you use it effectively, you'll get to where you're going. Okay? Sounds like I just came up with some stupid quote, but it's serious. You have to know where you're at in order to set your training to get you where you're going. And that's where I think there are some athletes that are great self-coach athletes. And I think this is where a coach really comes in. This is not a sales pitch. This is my true belief. It's why I have a coach. I can't get out of me what my coach can get out of me. It's that simple. I go out and do the same stuff. I've been riding my bike since Ironman Texas. I don't think I've swam, but like maybe once. I've ran a handful of times, but if I had a coach, guarantee I'd do it. And that's because he knows where I want to be. He knows where I want to go. So we have to do that testing. He has to know who I am as an athlete. Just like a lot of you here, I've got most of my athletes that are here that I coach, I've got your numbers almost memorized or a ballpark of who you are as an athlete. So when you get to the front of the group and you tell me your threshold's 190, I say you're ridiculous. Right? I know better than
Is that what you said?
Oh, I didn't know.
Crazy.
She gets to the front, and I said, what's your current FTP? Because she's been working with Derek for a while. She's like, 190. I'm like, bullshit. You were 205 last year. No, you haven't lost 15 watts in a year. No. So, but it's like that. So I know that. I enjoy the numbers, and so that really intrigues me. But I have to know where she's at in order to push her. I could have told her, I know 175. I could have told her, okay, go out there and ride 2 to 205. She'd not lasted 3 minutes. Or if I could have told her, okay, go 140 to 150. It wouldn't have pushed her. So, and you got to know that. And if you're self-coach, you have to know that. You need to spend time in each of the zones. So if you think of a graph, and let's say zone 1 is here, and let's say zone 6 is here. Each zone, watch how I say this. Zone 1 and 2 are your aerobic zones, 100%. The top of zone 2 is your aerobic threshold. That's going to be marathon effort, Ironman bike effort. That's kind of your all-day pace, your diesel engine type stuff, right? Where you can just plug along for hours. Very efficient. It burns fats. Primarily fat burning. A little bit of carbohydrate burning on that end. Now, as you move up, the time that you spend in those zones should come down. So if you think about a bar graph, you got zone 1 and 2 here. Zone 3 should be here. Zone 4 should be here. Zone 5 should be here. Zone 6 should be here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
As endurance athletes, we want to spend less and less time in the 6 and 7. Now, 6 and 7 is important in overall upper end speed and power development, like we did yesterday with the first group. We put in some hard VO2 max efforts. Some zone 5, zone 6 work yesterday that was super, super hard. But we didn't stay in there but for 2-3 minutes. We were out, right? Whereas today's efforts were 3 minutes. I set people off the front in the beginning. They did I think a 7-minute, a 4-minute effort, and then we all did a 10-minute effort. It's that longer kind of let's just maintain and grind it out effort. That's that zone 4 that you should be spending less time than 1 and 2, but more time than 5 and 6. Does everybody follow me? Does anybody really give a shit? Okay. Just checking, because if not, we can go. No, so we have a push-up contest.
Did Ray do his push-ups?
Ray did not do his push-ups.
What?
However, in Ray's defense, Ray set 12 new peak power records yesterday on that ride.
But he got a new watch.
No, this is intentional. This is not via his watch. And I'll actually speak about the watch in a minute. And so in his defense, Ray had one of the best bike rides he's had since our camp in March yesterday. And it was 100% because of the group that was with him. Some athletes are driven by that. You get in a group and he will bury himself. There are athletes that are like that. Other people get in a group and they're like, I'm good. And that's okay too. It's, you have to understand who you are as an athlete. So the watch thing, you said you got your, you know your zones. So, a couple of things. If you utilize Training Peaks, who in here, show of hands, uses Training Peaks?
What is that?
Well, you don't use it then.
So it's online
Neither do
coaching
I.
software or online software that you track your training.
It's an app.
And yeah, it's an app. It's a great platform. It's what we use as far as Monterey goes. Now, if you use it, you have to go in, or your coach has to go in and set your zones for you, or set your thresholds for you. Now, really cool thing about technology is now if you have a Garmin, when you're done with your workout, click, save, syncs to your phone, automatically gets pushed up to Garmin Connect. From Garmin Connect, it shoves it over to Training Peaks. Now, the number that you get in Garmin Connect will be different than the number in Training Peaks. Why is that? Because you have to go into Garmin and tell it, hey, here's my thresholds too. So sometimes those numbers are not an accurate reflection if you're using a platform like Training Peaks and you don't go in and set those zones. Now, not saying yours isn't accurate, but you want to go in and set those zones.
I thought there was only 5 zones though. Is there more than 5 zones?
So there's 4 zones, there's 5 zones, there's 7 zones, there's 10 zones.
Depends
on which school of
depends on
mine.
what you're using.
Mine has like a 5A, 5B, 5C or
Which is 7, that's 7 zones.
Yeah.
So 5A, 5B, 5C. Now, with that being said, there are different schools of thought on that and different methods, which is why you pick a method and you follow it. I happen to know Joe Friel personally. I've had a couple of conversations. Here's show of hands who's done my AET training protocol. Okay? These people hated me, I guarantee you, for 6 weeks. I know you did. Without a doubt, you did. And so I created an aerobic threshold training protocol, and what I've found is that endurance athletes, I had a 10-time Ironman finisher that I worked with. She could not function in zone 2 to save her life. If I sent her on a zone 1, zone 2 run, she'd have to walk. She just was not efficient. And so I'm like, how do you do that? Like, you've done 10 Ironmans, how do you not have that aerobic development? And so I did a test group, and she actually, going into Texas, she's the one that spurred this thought. I noticed that when she noticed, and I noticed when she'd start a run, immediately for the first 10 to 12 minutes, her heart rate, if you're watching the heart rate, let's pretend I'm doing a line graph here, her heart rate would immediately spike. And she's, let's say her threshold's 160. She's up at like 160, 165 for the first 12 minutes. Yet we're having a conversation. She feels great, not out of breath or anything. Kind of weird, right? So I caught that. I'm like, it's not right. So we started talking about it. We worked through some things, and then I said, well, there's got to be something with that going on. So the body, without getting too far in, it has parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems, basically fight or flight to an extent. Now, reason that's important is because my theory is that once you introduce stress to the body, if you think back, let's pretend we're all cavemen. The only time that we ran was to eat or not get eaten, right? Or move on down the line, like the Stone Age and stuff, and they would go to castles and battle. When the body has that surge of adrenaline, it thinks it's under attack, or it needs to go faster to get something. So my theory, completely my theory, is that the body still wants to react like that because that's how we're designed. We have to retrain that system. So immediately the body says, holy crap, I have to send all these nutrients, all this blood, all this adrenaline has to be sent out because my arm could get chopped off. Or I have to catch that goat so I can eat dinner tonight. Who's chased a goat before? Show of hands. You were living right. So the body's immediate reaction as soon as you introduce stress is this peak, this heart rate peak. No change in RPE, rate of perceived exertion. She still says, I feel fine. But her heart rate's like up here. Her body's just bam, 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 bam. And then after 12 minutes, it would come down to meet the demands of the activity, right? So I challenge you to go look at your heart rate files and see if yours does that. Now, how did we fix that? So I had a theory. I actually got time to sit down with Joe Friel twice and chat with him in person. I said, here's my test subject. Here's my results of this test that I did. What do you think? And so what I did is I made her start doing a lot of these slow, and it's so the secret, I give you the secret sauce. 30 beats below threshold plus or minus 2 beats. Gives you a 5-beat window, okay? I just gave away my special sauce that no one's ever heard, right? But, or I guess they could have reverse engineered and figured it out. But you do that, and then you figure out in that 5-beat zone, she would have to run, and then as soon as you got to the top of that zone, she'd have to walk, right? You guys love doing that shit. That was amazing. So you'd have to run, you'd have to walk. You have to run, you have to walk. And so it creates this really cool graph, right? But it's frustrating. And she did that from, I think, October when we noticed this, all the way up to Ironman Texas. Over time, and I've got a chart I can send out where I just picked random workouts that were similar. Over time, it started being 8 minutes of this spike and the warm-up. And then it would be 4 minutes of this spike. And then it would be 2 minutes of this spike. And then one of the last runs that she did was one of the best runs that she had leading up to Texas. When we introduced that stress, her heart rate actually dropped at the beginning and then rose up to meet the demands, right? To me, that was incredible. When I saw that, I was like, oh my God, I figured something out.
So you said 30 beats
I can't tell you again.
I forget what he said.
Below threshold.
So you're gonna take your threshold heart rate, minus 30 beats, plus or minus 2. So if your threshold is 130 or 160, 130, so it's 128 to 132.
Okay.
Right.
So once you get to that point, then you walk.
You walk or run. Walk or run. You may do the first couple of them walking fast. And when I say fast, you know how fast is a fast walk?
Speed walking.
I do like 14 minute miles.
13 and a half, 14 minute miles. It's a fast walk. It's a butt whip.
It's,
Oh, it
It's
hurts
a
your
butt whip.
hips.
But if you notice, you're in that low aerobic zone.
Keep your heart rate down.
You keep it down.
I've been working on that.
So, with that being said, the reason that's important because as endurance athletes, we have to be able to stay on that side. Now, when I say on that side, zone 1 and 2 and 3. On that end, starting at the base of zone 2 is when you are burning primarily fats. We won't get into the percentage in the mix. Primarily fats. As you get toward threshold, once you get about threshold and you start to go into upper zone 4, low zone 5, you're starting to burn more carbohydrates. Now, why is that important? We have a limited carbohydrate store. Okay, you got about 75 to 90 minutes in that to be able to steal your muscle glycogen, liver glycogen, and then you're out. And then that's when you get hungry. That's when you have the bonks, the crashes, things like that. We have to condition the body to utilize fats. Everybody, I don't give a crap what your lean body mass is. I mean, what your body fat percentage is. Everybody has fat to give. We all have fat to burn. You teach the body to burn that fat and make that your default source. So if you think about 2 fuel sources, think about if you have a fire and you want that fire to burn, you add gasoline, right? Gasoline is zone upper 4, 5, 6, and 7. When you dump that gasoline on there, as you get towards 7, it's a lot of gasoline. It goes whoosh, and then back down, right? It's that quick burst energy, just like my Oreos. It gives me that before an interval, smash it, and then I'm like, done. Now, think about the other end of that, zone 1, 2, and 3, you're going to be like a charcoal fire. It takes a little while to get going, but when it goes, it will burn for hours. Who's cooked burgers on the grill? Show of hands. Here we go. Who's cooked burgers on the grill with charcoal? You go out there 3 hours later and the coals are still simmering, right? That's that low end stuff. That's the stuff that we need to develop as endurance athletes. Very, very important, very crucial to success. Can you be successful having heavier development on the upper end? Absolutely. People have done it for years. But if you want to be really good at this sport, you want to get faster, slow down, right? Completely counterintuitive. Slow down to get faster. Who in here has slowed down to get faster?
I think I have.
Right. So, and athletes that have been working with us, that have followed our protocols and things like that, are just really starting to unlock. I mean, we worked together, 18 months now? Something like that? It's been an 18-month process. And she had great races last year, but she essentially just qualified for Worlds a couple months ago, right? And so had a PR Ironman, turned around middle of this year, qualified for 7.3 Worlds. And I really think it's because a lot of it's because of the development of that low end aerobic system. She can run at a much faster pace than she could before, and it only uses this fuel down here in zone 2. It's very, very efficient. Does anybody have any questions about that? Okay, I won't spend much time on this. I am extremely passionate about this. I feel it's one of my strengths as a coach. And just like I said, each of my coaches, or each of our coaches, have their own specific strength. I don't want or need to be an expert, but I think this is my baby. This is my world. And when I get talking about it, I've done talks to CrossFitters. I designed an endurance program for CrossFitters to help them get better in their open competitions. Had great success. We had a test group. Had great success with that. I think it works. I really believe that it works, and I really believe that there's not many people doing it. You want to get a leg up, you figure it out, you unlock it, and you start to develop that aerobic engine. Game on. Question?
So when you're on a bike and sometimes during a race, it's like the panicky part, or just the adrenaline is so high, and you just try to catch people and you shouldn't. The bad process of things. But I've noticed my heart rate might get way too high, well over 200. But then I'm like, I can't get it down on the bike.
Right.
It's just too high at that point.
Right.
And then the adrenaline's still going through the whole race. So how do you I get when you're saying you're running and then you can walk, bring it down, and then run and then walk. When you're on a bike, you just slow down.
Yep. So you reduce the amount of pressure on the pedals.
Okay.
You reduce the amount of pressure on the pedals. the thing about that is when you work that high end stuff like we were talking about, kind of like the first group did yesterday, you'll notice it was funny because we stopped, and this is not at all to brag whatsoever. We stopped, and people said, "Oh, we've been sitting there for a minute, 90 seconds," and people were like, "Oh man, I'm still at 165," and I looked down, I'm at 122. Reason being is because my body is now adapted to that hard effort and then recovery. That's what you use that upper end for, those minute, 2 minute, 3 minute efforts. That'll help you in the event you do get kind of out of the way and get outside of where you should be. You develop that system, you teach the body to recover, then it's not as much of an issue. You still shouldn't burn that match, without a doubt. But if you do, pushing up one of these hills, you get to the top and you're like, woo, went a little hard on that hill. You want to teach the body through training, through smart training, to recover itself and to heal.
Yeah,
Right.
I hate to like drop, 4 or 5 miles an hour, but maybe that's just what you need to do.
Some things you can also look at is how efficient is your pedal stroke. That's one thing you can work on, and I had a chat with a couple people on the bike today. Efficiency in this sport is so important. I had a conversation, I think it was with you, about strength training. And, we go in the gym, and she's talked about it, Lynette talked about it. There she is. Lynette's going to sleep. I like it. This, as a camp manager, this makes me proud. This is the best moment of the camp right here.
No openings next week.
And you can lay your head down, take a nap. It's not going to bother. But as strength training, you go in there and you want to do 10 reps. You want to get those 10 reps out, whatever weight. We need to be able to do 3,000 reps. And so working on pedal efficiency or run form efficiency, run economy, things like that are to help you with that endurance base. So less resistance is going to need less work. So it could be a bike fit. It could be a better pedal stroke where you're actually activating the hamstring. Who actually pulls up on their hamstring, show of hands, on the back side of the pedal stroke to support the other side, okay? One of the tricks I didn't tell you guys, because I knew it would be more effective, I told you after, is going up hills. You want to think about lifting that foot, almost lifting your shoe. You should feel a gap of air, as in Alan said it. I don't know if you guys have met Alan Moore, by the way. I did not introduce him this morning. As far as I'm concerned, Alan is an honorary coach for Monday. Very good friend, incredible coach. He actually said it on our bike ride earlier. He said it to you. He said, you want to feel air under that shoe. I'd always felt that. I never thought about it in that perspective. So again, I'm learning as a coach. So you want to feel like there's air under it. When you do that, that's going to help that other foot go down. So as you lift up, that helps the other foot drive down. So you do things like that, it's going to require less energy from you. Okay, so it's a two-part answer to her question: is get better at the efficiency part of it, and also train smarter. That is the biggest key, the biggest takeaway. Any other questions?
Yeah.